I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Alder. Here. Alderman Flores. Alderman Galloway. Here. Alderman Hutchinson. Here. Alderman Owen.
Here.
Alderman Snyder.
Here.
We have 6 aldermen present. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to the minutes from the previous meeting, which was October 2nd, 2023. We've had those in our packet. Are there any questions or changes regarding the October 2nd minutes? Not seeing any movement. Motion that we approve these as printed. Okay, seconded by. Okay, so the October 2nd, 2023 minutes, motion was made by Alderman Flores. It was seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor, do so by show of hands. And it passes. Tonight, we don't have any ceremonial matters or scheduled visitors or guests. So we'll go to our first reading of bills, which will be open for public discussion as I will make notation during the process. Our first new bill is bill number 3487.
I make a motion to place bill number 3487 on first reading by title and description only.
Okay, and seconded by.
Second.
Okay. So bill number 3487 on the first reading by title only. The motion was made by Alderman Owen, second by Alderman Flores. All in favor to discuss bill number 3487, do so by show of hands. And it passes.
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, chapter 405 relating to zoning regulations.
At this time, we have staff comments from Director Cameron Smith.
Yes, you may recall, we recently have adopted the RSF1 single family zoning district and RSF2. When these were adopted a few months ago, it retired the existing single family districts that we have. Since that adoption, staff has been asked to go back and reevaluate or relook at RSF1 primarily to look at some of the proposed amenities. And with that evaluation, we also have went back and kind of addressed some things that are kind of dictated to us by either a state statute or a federal regulation, such as the Fair Housing Act, that we've kind of had to modify this to clean that up. So going through that, I just want to go through page by page. On page 1, everything should be highlighted as far as in red font, whether it's stricken or underlined. But under the home occupations, you'll see there that we have removed a section there about some of the exceptions. And then following that on page 2, home occupations have been removed as a conditional use. Based on what has been provided us, we cannot restrict those as a conditional use. They are permitted by right. And then moving forward on to item number 3, group homes. That's something under the Fair Housing Act that we cannot treat them any differently than a single family dwelling. So they are no longer noted to be a conditional use. They are permitted by right in most situations. So we kind of clean that up on page 2. Moving on to page 3, this is where we're starting to get into the common area requirements. A lot of this information was pulled from RSF2, but however, we did clean up, make some modifications based on feedback, but we have clarified some of the calculations for those common areas. We also made reference to the quality and dedication of common areas and what is required for a subdivision. A lot of the questions that came up and falling on to page 4 was in regards mostly to the pool and pool house amenity. Staff has went in and added those requirements from RSF2, while in addition to that, giving some minimum requirements for the size of the pool, the deck around the pool, and the calculation requirements for the pool house or the clubhouse, if you will, of that structure. We are requiring that pool house be sized by the design professional, depending on the occupant load of what they determine their pool to be. The pool is a minimum of 1,500 square feet. However, it is 10 square feet per lot, so it could be bigger than that depending on the size of the subdivision. And then the pool deck area is twice the size of the pool area. So that's clarified in that section on page 4. Moving on, trail areas, we've made reference to adding an amenity for the trails or allowing those to be amenities in RSF one that was not in there originally. And then the last item on page 5 is the sidewalk and trail construction requirements. There was a lot of discussion about requiring additional public trails and sidewalks. Staff is proposing to go back and rely on the City of Ozark's design standards for public improvements. That'll start dictating when a sidewalk is required to be. And then also our linear park trail ordinance. That is the second item on the agenda tonight. So instead of requiring it in this subdivision ordinance for the single families, we're relying on when they occur based on the design standards of the street network. And then if they occur along the Ozark Trails master plan for public trails. However, we do allow a private type trail in the subdivision to be constructed as an amenity if they choose to do it that way. So moving on, the next section, RSF 2, similar modifications on page 6. We did clean up the home occupation reference. And then not a lot of changes in RSF 2. However, on page 9, adding some additional exhibits or images to kind of help convey the message of what we're proposing. Same thing with 10, the 2 images there were added. A lot of the amenities are already in here, so we didn't get a lot of changes in this section. And then continue moving on the images. When you get on to page 16, now we're back into some of the clarifications that we referenced in RSF 1 for the pool of adding some of those minimum criterias again on page 16 of the minimum pool size, the deck around the pool, and the pool house or the clubhouse with that pool in the community room. So we are providing clarifications there to help give some minimum size requirements. And then moving on to items, for instance, number 4 and 5 on the page 16 and 17, again, just kind of some update and clarifications for clarity on what the ordinance is. And then item K on 17, again, back to the trails and sidewalk section. We're just referring to the design standards for public improvements in the linear park trail ordinance. And then moving forward on page 19 and 20, the last 2. This is something that we've added and our staff is proposing as we've been running into this, it seems like on a weekly basis in kind of the downtown area. There is an exhibit of the downtown area that should have been provided of what we're looking at. But a lot of the lots in downtown do not even conform to our ordinances. A lot of cases we'll see lots on whether the 3,000 square feet, 5,000, 55. Some cases there's 3 lots or 1 home built on 3 lots and it's over the property line. There's 3 houses on 1 lot that we can't split the lot to make them in compliance because they don't meet the minimum standards. So what staff is proposing in this downtown area, generally it's defined, and I don't know if you have that exhibit, Jennifer, scroll on, there should be a map. Okay. I don't see it in there. So generally from the Jackson Street or the 14 highway corridor as it intersects 3rd, that's south, 9th Street being on your western side, 10th and 11th being kind of on your eastern side, and the south being South Street. So in that kind of that downtown area of the city, we are asking to amend the ordinance to allow for, regardless of zoning in this downtown single family overlay district, to allow for lots no less than 5,000 square feet. Again, a lot of these lots are already in that situation, and on a regular basis, we are looking at either trying to get a variance for approval, or staff can approve something, or someone can't develop on their own lot. So we are asking for in that general vicinity of downtown to allow for lots with a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet, a minimum front yard setback of 25, a minimum side yard of 7.5 feet. The 7.5 feet is so on one side it's 7.5, the other is 7.5. For a total of 15 feet. Generally, that gets in utilities, a minimum rear of 20 feet, and then a minimum lot width of 40. We see a lot of narrow lots, knowing that in generally in a lot of cases, they'll probably be a little wider if they're wanting to build a larger home, but we are allowing for a smaller, narrower lot if they choose to develop that way. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I apologize that exhibit wasn't in there, and it's my bad. I may not have forwarded that on. So. But it is a map that we plan to have on file, not necessarily approved as an ordinance, but a map that we'll have on file as folks want to request that.
Alderman, any questions for Director Smith? Alderman Hutchinson.
So if a house should burn down there, but to build it back, they could not meet these requirements.
In a lot of cases, for instance, like downtown, that's small. We do allow them to build back if they meet the setbacks of what currently most of those are zoned R1C. If they can meet those setbacks, we generally will allow them to, but in most cases they can't. And again, we pursued a variance just a few weeks ago for a lot that has 3 houses on it, just so they can actually sell a house because they're all combined into one. We had another variance that we did for the minimum lot size. Again, they could not meet the setbacks. We have a house that's over here that is on the market that appears to even be built over the property line, but right now its lot is a little over 3,000 square feet. I don't suspect they'll be able to pull a building permit because by the time they cut all those setbacks down, they can't even feasibly fit it in there. So again, this proposal won't catch everything. We recently did a lot combination of a property that was 4 parcels. A lot of the plats were really old in 1900. There are several lots that are 25 feet wide by 200 feet deep. And so there's 3 lots just to make the one up. And if anyone wants to go develop, pull a permit, they've got to either do a lot combination or a variance.
Anyone else? Okay. At this point, thank you, sir. We'll open it up. Is there anyone here at this time from the public who wishes to speak for this bill number 3487? Is anyone here who wants to speak against now Bill 3487? Please come up to the microphone and state your name, your address, please.
Hi, Drew Beatty, 4206 Tuscany Circle. Old World Estates. I've been up here a couple of times for you guys. A few things today. I want to address you guys as both a homeowner here in Ozark and as Cronkite Homes, a home developer. We're finishing out many of our 40 lots over in River Point, and we have plans to build just behind the water tower over here with what was going to be 140 lots has now been reduced down to 120 due to zoning and size we can get into in a later discussion. I printed this out so I can kind of run through it. I didn't want to waste your guys' time. I really wanted to highlight an issue that touches absolutely the core of not just the Ozark community, but what we're facing today in nearly every lives and citizens and the cities that we embrace as builders. It's an escalating challenge of housing affordability. It's an undeniable truth that our city, while growing and thriving in many aspects, is simultaneously navigating the crisis in which the basic need of affordable shelter is slipping further and further away from too many residents. We are witnessing an era where the cost of housing is not just inching up, it's leaping. The convergence of rising property values, stagnant wage growth, a shortage of housing inventory is creating a perfect storm in addition to constantly rising interest rates. This perfect storm is pushing the dream of homeownership out of the reach for many, while leaving many others allocating an unsustainable portion of their income towards rent. This isn't merely an economic debate about supply and demand. It's a social crisis that threatens the fabric of our community, eroding the middle class, amplifying income inequality, and redefining the concept of a livable city. Our teachers, healthcare workers, and young professionals, and many others who form the backbone of our city's workforce are finding it increasingly difficult to afford to live in the community that they serve. And if you want examples of that, I can talk about many of your school members and other workers who are buying in communities that I'm building outside of this community. The repercussions extend beyond the personal stress and strain on family budgets. They manifest in families moving outside the city, which leads to a disconnection from the community life, which in turn can lead to deterioration in overall city wellness. Housing affordability is a very real and imminent issue. In light of this, I feel compelled to address the new proposal that, while well-intentioned, may inadvertently contribute to our current housing affordability crisis. The proposed mandate to require developers to include a pool in residential developments over 75 lots, including other amenities. While such amenities are desirable and enhance the appeal of a community, we must critically assess the economic ramifications. Mandating pools in large developments will undoubtedly increase the overall cost of these projects by hundreds of thousands of dollars. These costs in an industry where margins are already under pressure will not be absorbed by the developers and home builders. They will be passed down to home buyers, further inflating the cost of home ownership. Furthermore, the proposed mandate not only increases initial housing costs, but also leads to a rise in ongoing expenses for homeowners in the form of increased homeowners association dues. Pools, pool houses, fencing, security systems, and landscaping are not a one-time expenditure. They come with recurring maintenance, repairs, insurance, and safety compliance costs, all of which are typically covered by HOA fees. This means that homeowners aren't just facing a higher purchase price, but also an indefinite increase in monthly expenditures, placing an additional financial burden on residents and potentially pushing even middle-class households beyond their means. Instead of mandates that could unintentionally inflate housing costs, we recognize the importance of collaborative, solution-oriented approaches that directly address the heart of affordability. Central to this, forging strong partnerships with developers and home builders, entities crucial to the practical realization of housing initiatives. By initiating roundtable discussions and workshops with these key stakeholders, we can create a shared space for dialogue, understanding mutual challenges, and brainstorming innovative solutions. We want to be a partner and a valued resource to the city. One pivotal area of focus is the reassessment of current zoning laws, much of which have already been discussed earlier. By working jointly with developers, we can identify and modify restrictive zoning ordinances, potentially increasing the density allowances, reducing minimum lot sizes, or subsequently consumer prices, expediting approval processes and thereby decreasing developmental costs. Furthermore, incorporating developers' insights into these discussions ensures that the policies we craft are not only well-intentioned, but also pragmatic and implementable, considering real-world market dynamics. In conclusion, I urge everyone here to rethink this proposal and its economic impact on future homebuyers. Housing affordability is a fundamental right for our citizens. We must galvanize our efforts, fostering collaboration between the public and private sector to build a future where housing affordability is a given, not a luxury. And together, let's affirm our commitment to a city that is not only prosperous, but also inclusive and accessible for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone have questions for?
Just one thing I would add, when we talk about allocating space, that also talks about removing lots. If you talk about taking away 2 lots, that's minimum $120,000 to $150,000 you're asking somebody to give up just in the lot cost. That's not the actual development, build, and maintaining a pool. The amount that you can make on homes within that to subset those costs are dramatic. And expecting someone to go in and build developments that are going to meet those 75 minimum requirements, you're going to start seeing developments start shrinking, and they're going to become smaller and smaller, and they're going to stay below that. And every time you change those development requirements, it's going to change with it, pushing people out, making it less of a reason to actually build and build new. And the last thing I want is to see somebody have to buy a house that's 45-year-olds requiring, massive amounts of costs to repair. I want them to be able to move into a brand new home. So, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Anyone else? Who wants to speak? And I did forget to mention, that's why I didn't say anything, but we do like to keep your talk to 5 minutes, please, or less.
I did attend the planning and zoning meeting, and there was quite a few discussions at that meeting.
Please.
I'm sorry, Jeannie McFall, 1324 East Warren Avenue,
I know
Ozark,
you-
Missouri.
Yep. Thank you.
I did attend the planning and zoning meeting. There was several questions asked regarding that at the meeting. And one question that was asked, which I don't feel was answered correctly, was how many HOAs do we have inside the city limits of Ozark? And Cameron mentioned that there was 50% of the subdivisions that have them. I don't believe that's true. We may have 14 subdivisions that have HOAs inside the city limits of Ozark. So that is something to think about. They do have to be maintained by volunteers, or you have to come up with a system, business to bill out the fees, those fees and the maintenance of the pool. They're all added costs that have no fixed cost. And you have just also spent thousands of dollars on a pool here at the OC recently. So you know how much expenses are to maintain a pool. So you're asking the homeowners of 76 people to maintain a pool and a clubhouse that the pool they may only get to use 3 or 4 months out of the year. So really think about that for affordability. And the other thing I've run into is when I come to the meetings, we normally have subdivision people here and they always want to know why you're going against their HOAs or their restrictions. Now think about that. Your rules do not apply to their restrictions or their HOAs. But you're asking them to build a pool and come up with an HOA. So are you going to support their HOA if they come to you and say you're going against it? So think about that. But I strongly urge you not to support a mandatory pool for subdivisions in Ozark.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir. I see you're moving.
Good evening. My name is Miles Ross, 636 West Republic Road, Springfield, Missouri. I'm here representing the Home Builder Association of Greater Springfield. We oppose this, and basically we oppose this ordinance based on the pool. Staff, I will give the staff a compliment. They have been great. We've had many conversations, many discussions, trying to figure out what's the right spot. And at some point, you know, Ozark has to pick it out. We just feel like 76 pools or 150 pools or houses for a pool is way too few to financially support that cost. And, you know, I'll give you a personal story. So recently I've been put on Wild Horse. I live in Wild Horse on east of Springfield. We have about 800 homes there. You know, they're nice houses. We have 2 pools. You know, those pools are very expensive to maintain. That's our biggest cost as an HOA. We pay close to $1,000 a year for you know, HOA fees. And a big chunk of that goes to the pool. One of the things we're gonna have to do is replace one of those pools soon. And it's going to be about $150,000 to $200,000. 150 some homes just cannot financially support that. So you got to think about the long term. I understand what Ozark is trying to do in the short term and fix HOAs. But you got to think about what happens in 10, 15, 20 years when you have to replace that pool. What's HOA going to do? More than likely, they're going to go bankrupt because nobody's going to vote to double their HOA fees per month. So you're going to have a lot of cost. So that's what really concerns most people from the HBA. It's not the developers who are going to make more money because, as the previous speaker said, those costs will be passed to the ultimate home buyer. It's nobody's paying. We're not paying that. But we are worried about the financial sustainability of it. And also we do care about affordable housing, and you're not going to get affordable housing subdivisions in with the pool. It's just right now, you just can't make the cost work. So that's why we oppose it. You know, there's a lot of other things that we think are really good. This bill, staff has worked very hard. It's just that one piece of this ordinance, which is really a stumbling block for, I think, everybody that's opposed to it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I think Alderman Flores was first.
How many houses per pool would you suggest would be the right amount?
You know, I've done a lot of research on this, and I think the city has as well. There is no formula out there. You know, I'm just a layperson. I'm not a developer. I'm government affairs. I will tell you at Wild Horse, like I said, we have over 800 homes. We have both those pools. They're putting in, we're going to have close to 1,000 homes soon. And those pools never overrun. There might be 1 or 2 days a year where maybe you can't get a chair, but we just got to order more chairs. Most of the time the pool sits empty, and it's a huge cost just having Buster Crab or somebody else come out and maintain that pool for us, because you're not going to get average person that's a volunteer that's going to be adding the chemicals into that pool. You don't want that. You wouldn't want me putting chemicals into your pool. And so that costs us a lot. Since COVID, pool supply costs have gone up about 40%. And they're not going back down. And there's not that many companies out here. So it's a big cost. So, I mean, it's several hundred. I looked, there is no industry standard, and it's kind of what each subdivision dictates, you know, because it depends on the property, depends on how the ground lays and all that, but it's got to be several hundred. Most developers I talk to, I mean, it's at least 500 homes.
Are the sizes of those pools pretty large if there's 800?
Yeah, it's a pretty good size pool. I don't know the square footage of it, but I could get that and bring it back to you all if you want that. I did ask a couple of our developers, and I have not gotten this information, you know, what kind of pools are they putting in, how many houses? So I've been trying to see what's going on in the area, but I unfortunately did not get that information returned back to me, but I can send it out to you all before next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alderman Snyder.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here, but
Yeah.
your biggest concern is the provision for the pools, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, in the common area too. I mean, it's just that big cost. If you're gonna have a pool that costs you, let's just say $200,000. Or a common area that's equal to $200,000. Either way, it doesn't matter if it's a basketball arena, there's still gonna be maintenance cost on that. So what we're worried about is that requirement having a significant impact down the road on the homeowners.
Have you seen a trend going away from building pools?
Yeah, I think there's some realtors here, but yeah, there are a lot of people who do not want to have anything to do with the pool. And in our subdivision, I can tell you less than half the people use the pools.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, otherwise those pools would be overrun. I don't know what the number, and I've tried to do research and see how many people in the subdivision will actually use a pool. Best guess, just as a layman, it's probably less than 50%.
In lieu of a pool, I mean, are you building other amenities for that subdivision? I mean, can you give me an example of what you may provide?
It just depends on the subdivision, the developer, and they'd have to speak for themselves. But I mean, I've seen trails like in our subdivision, we got pools, we got racquetball courts, we got basketball courts. We don't have any trails, but we do have a lot of common area that gets mowed, and that's a significant expense as well. I think we pay about $40,000 a year to have our grass mowed, just in those common areas.
Gotcha. Thank you.
On Galloway.
A couple of questions. And just following up on Alderman Snyder's remarks. I take it by your position, the fact that the ordinance requires pool or equivalent amenities.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that.
Pardon me?
It doesn't say that from criticism. The fact that we require pools or equivalent costs or amenities that are provided at equivalent costs does not keep it from criticism.
No, I don't think so, because if you're going to have an equivalent cost of pool, that's a significant investment. That's a couple $100,000 easily. Most pool companies around here don't put in a pool for less than 150,000, 200,000, and you're not going to put in a pool in a subdivision for under 200,000. So if you're going to have an equivalent cost of, say, a building or other resources, that's still going to be a big expense that you're then putting out to each one of those lots.
Second question, out in Springfield, do you have examples of HOAs that failed and left derelict pools?
Yes, and that is more information I'm working on. I've asked some developers that actually manage a lot of subdivisions they built. One of the larger developers in the area who's developed here in Ozark as well. I've asked them for how many subdivisions have failed, how many have went bankrupt, that sort of thing. So I can try to get that to you. I give it city staff and they can pass it on to you if you like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would appreciate it if there are specific examples of where that has failed in Springfield and the pools were not in use and became derelict. And then, there are a couple of policy reasons that we're addressing or attempting to address by looking at this ordinance. But one is that our town is different from Springfield.
Sure.
We don't have Springfield's tax base. Our people go over to Springfield and spend their tax money there and help your tax base and build your parks. We don't have parks. Service. We don't have parks for our people on the north side of town, which is where a lot of the bedroom community is, or on the south side of the town. We just have them really in the center.
Yeah.
Because that's where Ozark grew and that's what it could serve. And those parks at one time served people well, but we don't have them now. One of the policy goals of this kind of legislation is to make sure that we do have amenities for people who live here, amenities that we can't afford to pay for them. Do you have an alternate solution to this?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't right here, right now.
But you can think.
Yeah, it's something to ponder, and I'll certainly think and actually ask around, as I collect some more information for you all. One thing that I meant with my story about me living in Wild Horse is I just became the vice president of the association, not because I, have plenty of time and I want to do it. It's because we haven't had a president in several years because the president quit and we have a bunch of turnover. So me and four of my friends in the neighborhood that actually care about it, we volunteered. And out of over 800 homes, we were only 4 candidates. And, much like serving on the board, not everybody wants to do it, and you do it out of public service or helping your community. And so that's the other thing that we're worried about is, are you going to actually have people to run these HOAs? Are you going to have people that actually going to manage that money to pay for the pool and all that? So and I know what the city's trying to achieve, and I think it's a noble cause. I think we have a lot of concerns about the unintended consequences.
And then I did have one final statement that. Does the HBA recognize, when we were enacting these ordinances, we reduced lot sizes?
Yes.
So that builders would have more opportunities and greater opportunity to reduce costs for homeowners.
Yes, and Steve has done a great job of explaining all of that. And we've talked, and we're grateful for those trade-offs and those, you giving some and taking some, whatever. We just think that one aspect of this ordinance is such a big deal that it overshadows everything else by far.
Well, if you have an alternative to this policy, be probably good to present it in the next couple of weeks, because we haven't thought of any, but
yeah,
we're hearing from you on us up here,
right,
with a lot of interest. So, if you have alternatives to this that can meet our policy goals, please let us know.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that invitation.
Thank you.
Anyone else questions for? Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Be quick. JJ Hetherington, 4959 Cherry Circle, Springfield, Missouri. I am on the board of the HBA. I am also the owner and operator of Canopy Developments. And I wanted to answer a couple of your guys' questions you were talking about, what other amenities exist. I urge you to some point to look up canopysgf.com. It's about a community that is building amenities, but not your typical swimming pools, and not spending that money to put up these huge infrastructure items, but still offering amenities. For instance, we have our sidewalk is actually a landscape edible trail. So as homeowners walk the sidewalk, they're also pulling vegetables and pawpaws or whatever berries they want to pull off of the sidewalk. We have a community garden. We have a nature trail. We have a greenways trail in the backyard. And we actually have a river in the backyard, so maybe we don't need a pool. But by putting a developer in a box and saying you have to have a swimming pool eliminates the more progressive ideas of trails, gardens, because that money that's putting into a pool doesn't allow for those other amenities in that community. So I want to urge you to think about not putting us in that box, if that makes sense. That's all. Questions?
Snyder.
What was the website? Was it Canopy SGF?
Canopysgf.com. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, I'm not seeing movement. Anyone on Zoom?
We have people watching, but no comments at this time.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any last comments or? Okay. Appreciate those who came tonight. Appreciate what you're sharing with us and all, and your concerns. And of course, part of our challenge is this. When I became mayor, first I got hit with Old Warwick State. Now I realize when you live out there, but what happened was they was promised certain amenities. I mean, by the realtors and all when they built, and part of that was the pool. Well, because since there was no requirement on size, you have a 350 some homes with a pool that is not adequate. Honestly, New Haven State, 150 homes. They have, now I gotta admit, they got a nice place for a picnic area. They got a nice playground, but they have a pool that's the size of a regular home for 150 homes. So our challenge is, if developer was promising pools, you would think that we'd make it fit the size of the development. We got a new one the new one happening right now is Eagle Rock or Eagle Springs. It's the same challenge because there's no guidelines on what size they have to put in. So, but we do hear what you're saying though, and do appreciate you coming tonight, speaking with us. So therefore, we're going to look, bill number 3487 will be held over for a future meeting. So now we're going to move on to bill number 3488.
I'd like to make a motion to place bill number 3488 on its first reading by title and description only.
Second.
Okay, so bill number 3488 on its first reading by title only motion was made by Alderman Owen, second by Alderman Galloway. All in favor, do so. Discuss bill 3488 by show of hands, and yes.
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, sections 410-500 and 410-510 regarding linear park trail and connector trail requirements.
Okay, and we'll have Director Kim Smith come back again.
Yes, as I made reference earlier, we are amending the linear park trail ordinance. There was, as staff is trying to implement this ordinance over the past, it was a little confusing what it was trying to achieve. And so we were kind of rewording some of this, and it got to the point where we even just decided to redact and basically repeal and replace the entire ordinance. So going through this ordinance, we did some cleanup on it. It primarily handled the linear park trails that were defined on the Ozark Trails Master Plan, and then also a neighborhood trail, a connector trail along those corridors. So as we've gone through this, the clarities that we made was in regards, a lot of it has to do with where these are to occur, when, and how big. So the updates requires the trail to be constructed along with providing the easement. In the past, the primary spine trails required that the developer dedicate an easement only. Now we're actually requiring that trail to be constructed along with dedicating that easement. The next update was in regards to the connector trails. Really didn't give a lot of clarity to these, but it did actually require those trails to be built. However, the main trail was not. They were only to be 6 feet wide. So staff is going back and are requiring those to be constructed along with the easement and updating those improvements to be a 10-foot wide trail to meet our standard, and then a 30-foot wide easement. These connector trails would occur in subdivisions that adjoin a subdivision that has the primary spine trail. So that's really the only areas in the community that we do require the public trail section, is whether they occur on the main spine that's been identified in the master plan, or if it's a subdivision that abuts that to provide that connectivity. We have modified some of the language to give more flexibility to the total width of the easement and the trail, just in case it's a site constraint or case by case. We've allowed the staff to have the opportunity to kind of help mitigate some of that. A lot of times these are built along a road right away, so we have a little extra right away that we could work with, and maybe we reduce that right away of the trail to 20 feet as opposed to 30 feet. And then in some cases, it may join an existing section that may be a little narrower, that we can get some creativity going and tie those together. But with that, that's kind of primarily the proposal of this. Again, trying to modify this existing ordinance to make it more understandable and user friendly, but yet to go ahead and get these public trails constructed along with the dedicated easement. So with that, be happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Hutchinson.
Yes, as our trail system becomes more and more expanded and a lot of people are using it, I've had several people ask me questions about future commercial development along the trails, like water stands and bike repair or anything like that. Are there any plans to make it so that will be possible?
Is the question in regards to commercial developments? Is that?
Yes.
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 But I don't know that we care too much whether it's a commercial or a residential necessarily. If it's a map trail, generally a lot of the development is residential because they kind of meander off the main corridors. But if a commercial development was occurring along these trails, we do go ahead and try to work with them to get that connection from throughout the site.
Well, I see that there's 30-foot easements. I wondered if there's going to be, if it's ever a possibility, there'll be pop-up tents for, like I said, water or soft drinks or things like that. Is that even in the consideration of what the future?
That really hasn't been discussed. I could see that maybe get into our special event type permits if they want to like lease the trail to use to put tents up out there along the trails. Is that what you're asking? I don't.
No, if you go to some of the other trail systems, Santa Fe is one, and some of the others like that. They have pop-ups, but they're semi-permanent for the season when people are walking through there. Just necessary things that people always want when they're walking.
Yeah, there's nothing in that nature that we've proposed in this.
Okay, is there a possibility that we'll work with our regulations?
It's definitely something we can look into. That'll take some research to understand kind of what that is and what that means. But at this point, we haven't dug into it, but we definitely can look into
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, I'll open this to public comments. Is anyone here who wants to speak for bill number 3488? Anyone would like to speak against bill 3488? Not seeing movements, okay. Any last response from the? Not seeing any, okay. Bill number 3488 will be held over for a future meeting. Now we'll move on to bill number 3489.
Your Honor, I move that we place bill number 3489 on its first reading by title only.
And, okay, so bill number 3489 on the first reading by title only, motion made by Alderman Galloway and second by Alderman Hutchinson. All in favor of voting on this bill, do so by show of hands. And it carries.
An ordinance granting a franchise to operate a natural gas distribution system within the city to Spire, Missouri Incorporated.
Okay, and I think staff comments be from City Administrator Steve Childers.
Yes, sir. The city of Ozark has different franchise agreements for different utility providers. In this particular case, this one is with Spire, who provides natural gas in the city of Ozark. As you can see in the first whereas, state statute 71.530 allows for the natural gas company to operate as a utility inside the city limits of Ozark. What this actually does was establish some guidelines to allow them to do business inside public right of way. If you look at section 1, that really goes into that, how you're supposed to operate within the public right of way and what you're supposed to do with regards to that. And we have had an agreement with Spire Gas to operate in the city of Ozark before, and this is a renewal of that agreement. Of course, it has been vetted and evaluated and reviewed by our legal department, who has been working with their legal department and making sure that this meets the state statute that is current today. So if there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board? Okay, not seeing, I'll open this up to public since this is the first reading. Anyone here who will speak for bill number 3488? Or against this bill? Okay. Not seeing any movement last time. Okay. Bill number 3480 would be held over to a future meeting. Now we're going to move on to bill number 3489. Oh, that's when we just, excuse me. Bill number 3490.
I move that we place bill 3490 on its first reading by title and description only.
Okay, so bill number 3490 is, motion was made by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Snyder. All in favor to discuss bill number 3490, do it by show of hands. And it carries.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept and enter into a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Transportation Enhancements Funds Program Agreement regarding downtown sidewalk improvement.
Okay, and I believe staff comments would be Director Jeremy Parson.
Good evening. Good news is it sounds like everybody's trail friendly. So we're getting ready to talk about trails. No pools in this section, Cameron, but we've got some exciting things tonight. I've actually got a PowerPoint presentation just to kind of run you through. These are some of the additional projects that we've applied for and been awarded. We are in that program agreement phase. You all are going to become professionals at this grant process. You don't know it yet, but you will be professionals by the end of this. We've got a lot coming your way. Want you to see the big picture, and I think this is something that we can all get excited about. And even, you know, the realtors that were here, you saw a lot of movement towards the natural amenities and these passive spaces. And I think our parks survey that we did a few years ago also showed a demand for that. We're trying to connect people to these different nodes of activity, and I'll turn around here. And this first one is connecting the downtown to the river, as well as to what Finley Farms offers, the OC. So one of the complaints that we've been getting, or one of the questions we get, is how do we better connect our communities to the south and east to the downtown? When the funding became available, we identified the Robertson route here. Robertson connects to Eastland Heights, and it actually connects a lot of rooftops. This portion of our town, this is the south and east of the square, a lot of high density over there. And you'll see a lot of pedestrians trying to walk down Robertson. Not advisable, but I understand why they're walking down there. We did some research, and we confirmed that we do have enough right of way there to potentially do a little bit of a road diet and provide a 5-foot sidewalk along there. And then that would connect on 2nd Avenue, which is the area kind of shaded in purple. A little busy the map here, but shaded in purple. That would take you right into the downtown. So once you get into the downtown, as you know, we've got multiple ways to get down to the river. We're creating more ways to get down to the river. Parks is creating ways to get down to Garrison. It's just about connectivity. So back to the first slide, it really is about making connections. So this is the first one. There's an aerial view that kind of gives you a better glimpse of it. You can see the square right there in the middle, and approximately about 2,000 linear feet of sidewalk that OTO and our partners are willing to help us pay for. Right now, the total estimated cost are $362,000. We think we can come in under that. I think that estimate is high, but for the purposes of the TAP grant, we wanted to go in there and make sure that we requested enough total request from TAP. And then we've also completed some sidewalk along 2nd Avenue since we even started applying for this. So we know there's going to be some cost savings there as well. But as far as schedule, we will follow the schedule that we presented to the OTO and to the TAP board. Hopefully getting final project closeout by September of 2025. I know that seems like a long ways away, but with these grant projects, it is a very precise and very detail-oriented process. But when you start seeing these things come together, by the fall of September, we are going to have some serious trails and some serious sidewalks on the ground. So I hope you get your walking shoes on, but it's going to be a busy time for that. So that's the first bill. That's the downtown making connections, otherwise known as TAP 863. Any questions regarding that connectivity to the downtown?
Question, since I drive Robertson several times a day to my house, is it on the north side or the south side?
This would be located on the north side. Yeah. And then it would connect in right there. We made those improvements in front of the real estate office there. I think it's Galloway or
Galloway.
Yeah. And then it would connect in right there. I mean, so we do have the room to make that happen. And I do think that we're going to look at doing, like I said, a little bit of a road diet. When you narrow roads down a little bit, it automatically makes people want to slow down a little bit. So it's traffic calming. Now, you speedsters don't like to hear that, but we like to keep things slow in residential areas. So,
Well, see, personally, on Saturday, the Seventh-day Adventist Russian Church, which is right there.
Yes.
Second, they walk
yes.
to their service. And therefore, yeah, it's a challenge sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Any other questions about TAP 863?
No. Anyone from the public wish to speak regarding bill number 3490? As for or against? Okay, I'm not seeing movement. So last board members? We're good. Okay. Bill number 3490 will be held for a future meeting. Now let's move on now to bill number 3491.
I move that we place bill 3491 on its first reading by title and description only.
Okay, So bill number 3491, first reading by title and description only. Motion was made by Alderman Flores. It was seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on this motion to discuss this bill, do so by show of hands. And it does carry.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission STVG program supplemental agreement regarding the Chadwick Flyer Phase 2.
Okay, and we'll welcome back, I believe, Director Jeremy Parson.
And we'll pick up right where we were at with that presentation. We'll just roll on to the next slides. So TAP 837, you all are familiar with this. This is what we're referred to as the tracker phase of the Chadwick Flyer spine. Originally, we had gone after CRRSSA money. That's a long acronym for COVID money, COVID relief money, and a combination of TAP funding. Well, in May of this year, Congress actually reallocated some of the CRRSA funding. And that made us take a step back and say, okay, how are we going to get this done? The reason that those funds weren't obligated yet, I want to show you this because it's critical. The reason that those funds weren't obligated, we were still in negotiations with Tracker, and they were only wanting to potentially provide, they were comfortable providing an easement to this point, which is just on the northeast side of the substation here in Long. We kept countering and trying not to be too pushy, but saying, hey, we need to make that connection to the south. This is critical. Trails that end nowhere, just, you know, they're not as appealing. And we got them on board. We've been communicating with Tracker, and I say they went the extra mile. They actually went the extra 1,500 linear feet, but we'll call it them going the extra mile. And the OTO went the extra mile here as well. With that CRRSA money not being obligated, they came back to the table with TAP funds. So essentially that allowed us to make this trail. And I kind of overlaid the future Longview interchange. Don't get too excited about that Longview interchange, but I wanted to see how this all kind of correlates with one another, because we're putting all these plans together at one time and trying not to get in the way of future planning, I guess. So I'm going to point out that green line now connects all the way up here to Old World Estates, comes down by the substation, comes through that beautiful stand of trees that you can see from Highway 65, and connects to the area that we'll be talking about, which is phase 5. So we got an additional, like I said, about 1,500 linear feet. We found the funding. The supplemental agreement was required by MoDOT to make it clear. You've already agreed to the program agreement. The supplemental agreement is saying your board needs to understand that these funds are coming from a different pool of funds. They're now coming all from TAP and not CRRSA. So, but it's still very advantageous to the city, still an 80-20 split. And we're still going to get this done, and we're going to get it done further than we had first anticipated.
Any questions? Are we good? Okay.
Okay. I was waiting. You were into it there.
I know. I thought you were studying. That's why I was waiting. I don't want to rush anybody. Okay. 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 From the public, do you have any here who wishes to speak for or against both 3491? Okay. As for board members, last comments until next time. Okay. Move that bill number 3491 will be held over to a future meeting. We'll now move on to bill number 3492.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill 3492 on its first reading by title and short description only.
Okay. The motion is that bill number 3492, its first reading by title and description only. The motion was made by Alderman Flores. It was seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on this motion, do so by show of hands. And it carries.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept and enter into a contract for a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Carbon Reduction Program Agreement.
Okay, and welcome back.
Yes, thank you. Last one, but it's a good one. If I can get it to work again. There we go. Oh, there's the schedule for TAP 837. Didn't get to that, but as you can see, that one's kind of on an accelerated pace. We've already met our target A date. The plans have been approved. We're about to roll on that. So we're looking at beginning construction early next year. So keep that in mind. The next one, phase 5 that we kind of hinted at. I'll turn around here again. As you know, we've got from the OC, we've got the overpass figured out with that whole combination of the EED grant and everything. Now we have figured out the gap. And by the gap, I mean this little section between the overpass and Tracker Marine, which we just talked about. So here's a little better map that shows a close-up view of it. Again, this section that kind of curves out with the old railway corridor, that is the section that we applied for on this latest round. We were awarded. We do have all the right-of-way in place, which is a great thing to tell you that we don't need one single easement. That's always a good thing. So we can jump right in here and start building this line building this trail. For those of you that are familiar with this area, this is kind of over by the Fraley masonry area, the old Bumsteads. You can see the curvature of the parcel that we own there. And that was the old railway line. This is a significant portion. This does fill that gap. Right now, we've got total estimated costs right around $723,000. We can get that much trail and more built for about $144,000. So again, it's an 80-20 cost share. Right now, the schedule is identical to the downtown schedule because these projects were released at the same time for application. So we feel like we can meet this and perhaps even beat that timeline. Bottom line is, you guys are, like we talked about, we're seeing some real, I guess, progress. That's the best way to put it. And progress in this case is we're filling the gap and we're connecting people to our downtown, which ultimately connects people to shopping and all the other good things that you all know about. We're going to keep you updated. There will be timelines and certain factors that we'll bring back to you. We'll always keep you updated. Please know that if you ever have any questions, to reach out to our office. We'd be happy to talk trails anytime. The next steps, as far as coming to the board, we'll have to bring that design component to you. So we'll have to hit this up again, but we want to get this program agreement in place, want to get it sent to MoDOT, and we want to keep this rolling so we stay on track. So with that, any questions?
Very good. Questions for Director Jeremy Parsons? Okay, Alderman Hutchinson?
On the map here, what's the interim connection?
Interim connection.
Yeah, see the bottom purple? It looks like it's an alternative connection right there. I was just curious.
I'm sorry, that map. I don't know which one I provided you, but it's not in this. But that's a good point. That is in Greene County. There is a road that sees about 72 average daily trips. That's 72 cars a day. And they're having some issues right now with getting the easements across a couple of those properties. So that is an alternative route that they can use to accomplish getting people to Lake Springfield or Springfield Lake. So it's an interim route that we're proposing and that Greene County is fully on board with. And we see this in a lot of areas. As you're figuring out those easements and as you're getting those things accomplished, if you can find an alternative route to accomplish that. So that's what we're working on that. And Greene County's taking the lead on that. And Ozark Greenways is taking the lead on that. And at our next meeting, we'll have some really good things, some really good updates to talk to you about Ozark Greenways as well. So.
Anyone else from the board? Okay. Again, this is our first reading. Anyone from the public wish to speak regarding bill number 3492? Okay, not seeing movement. Last opportunity. Okay, move that bill 3492 be held over for a future meeting. There's no resolutions tonight. We're now going to move to second readings and final passage of the bills, and this will not be open this will not be open to public discussion. We're going to move now to bill number 3484.
Your Honor, I move that we place bill number 3484 on its second reading by title only.
Okay, so bill number 3484 is second reading by title and description only. Motion was made by Alderman Galloway, it was seconded by Alderman Hutchinson. All in favor of voting on this motion, do so by show of hands, and it carries.
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a contract with Springfield Roofing Systems LLC for roofing work on the Brick Street building.
Thank you. And now I believe we'll have Director Sam Payne to come.
Any questions?
Any question? This is Alderman Galloway.
Do I have questions?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Hey. The light's on, so I just.
Sleeping, you're disturbed.
Oh. Okay, any questions for Director Sam Payne? Okay. Well then, if not, then entertain motion.
Your Honor, I move that we adopt bill number 3484 as ordinance number 23-070.
Okay, motion by, in second? Okay. Okay, the motion is that bill number 3484 will become ordinance number 2023-070. The motion was made by Alderman Galloway, second by Alderman Alder. Roll call, please.
Alderman Alder. Aye. Alderman Flores. Aye. Alderman Owen. Aye. Alderman Galloway.
Aye.
Alderman Snyder.
Aye.
Alderman Hutchinson. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on now to the second bill. It's bill number 3485.
Your Honor, I move that we place bill 3485 on its second reading by title and description only.
And okay, so bill number 3485, second reading by title and description only. The motion was made by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on this motion, do so by show of hands. And it carries.
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an amended transportation development and cooperation agreement regarding the Ozark Center Transportation Development District and improvements to 19th Street.
Okay, and this is Director Jeremy Parson. Or our city administrators, Steve Childers. Any questions or? Okay, we got Alderman Flores.
Oh, I'm just.
Oh. If the light's on, I'm gonna call on you. Any questions for our administrator regarding this project? Okay. I'm not seeing any, so therefore, entertain motion.
I move that we adopt bill 3485 as ordinance 23-071.
And, okay. Motion is that we adopt bill number 3485 to become ordinance number 23-071. Motion was made by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Alder. Roll call, please.
Alderman Galloway.
Aye.
Alderman Owen.
Aye.
Alderman Alder. Alderman Snyder.
Aye.
Alderman Flores. Alderman Hutchinson. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move to our final second reading. This is bill number 3486.
You're all right. Make a motion to place bill number 3486 on its second reading by title and description only, please.
Second.
Okay. Okay, the motion is that bill number 3486 on its second reading by title and description only. The motion was made by Alderman Snyder, second by Alderman Flores. All in favor in voting on this motion, do so by show of hands. And yes, it carries.
An ordinance authorizing the city to apply for, accept, and to do all things necessary for a community forestry cost share grant from the Missouri Department of Conservation and amending the budget.
So this time, Director Sam Payne, again, any questions for her regarding this?
If this is approved tonight, we will go to them, basically present the grant. If it's awarded, I'll let you guys know. But either way, at the next Board of Aldermen meeting, we'll be bringing a contract forward to get the work done because the trees do have to come down regardless. So we're hoping that this grant will be accepted, but either way, we're gonna bring forward a contract, so.
Yes, sir. Alderman Snyder.
With regards to the grant, I mean, are the prospects looking good that we will be a recipient of this grant?
There are two cities that are asking for it, and the first one to the table wins, so,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, not seeing any other, entertain motion.
Your Honor, make a motion to adopt bill number 3486 as ordinance number 23-072.
It's a tie. Okay, I'll do. Flores. Okay, the motion is that bill number 3486 becomes ordinance 23-072. The motion was made by Alderman Snyder, it was seconded by Alderman Flores. Roll call, please.
Alderman Flores. Alderman Snyder.
Aye.
Alderman Galloway.
Aye.
Alderman Owen. Alderman Hutchinson. Alderman Elder. We have 6 aye votes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to reports from our officers, board and committees. City Administrator first, Steve Childers.
Yes, thank you. Just two quick things, reminding the board that we do have a non-legislative work session this Thursday in City Hall, council chambers from 8:30 to 10:30. And I am going to be beginning the meetings with our department heads on end of year budget projections, as well as 2024 budget projections. Be meeting with them, anticipate that we'll be prepared, or hopefully be prepared to begin meeting with our individual board members like we do on their departmental budgets the first week of November, second week of November. Hopefully bring the first draft of the budget forward, first meeting in December. If we can get it done before then, we will. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions for the Administrator? Yes, sir.
Do we have any updates regarding the Small and Cave concerns?
The agenda item on Thursday is for that to discussion. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Not seeing that. Moving on to our Park and Recreation, Director Sam Payne.
Happy to report that we are at our budget for membership this year. So anything that comes in, we'll make amendments and it'll be just progress for us. As a reminder, we have a Festival of Frights on October 28th. It's at the OC from 5:30 to 8:30. We have a main sponsor, which is Night Heating and Air Conditioning this year. That same evening will also be a pumpkin plunge, which is a new fun event that we're kind of excited about. One thing that's going on at the OC right now is there's installation of the blue sock is being put in right now. So there's no water in the pool, which means no swimming lessons. But like I said, it's got to be done. They did not realize that the lift was going to be difficult to get through the door, but with persistence, all things can happen. So it is in there and it is raised and it's doing its thing. So the blue sock is going in to be installed, which will be the last of that particular project besides the RT unit 21 that isn't in stock yet. So we're still waiting on that. Yeah, and we've got girls basketball going on right now and we're still taking registration for boys basketball. So it's just busy at the OC. Thank you.
Any questions for Director Sam? Okay, we'll move on now next to Cameron with our planning and development.
Yes, a couple of highlights. Something you may have noticed on the last few months of staff reports that I want to point out here is our code compliance. A few months ago, we hired a new code compliance officer. In the past, you really didn't see a lot of activity under that code compliance, but this gentleman, James Survey, has really picked it up and is getting got a lot of stuff into compliance. So commend him on that, but we are seeing a lot of cases now that he is taking care of and addressing. In most cases, he does work those out with the individuals and at least get them through the proper channels. In addition, our department has fully moved over Brick Street, so we are up and running over there. We are still lacking some furniture that we are waiting on, but we are over there up and running. So if you guys are looking for us, you can look for us over at 203 East Brick Street. Other than that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Yes, ma'am.
What was his name again?
James Survey, CERVI Survey.
Alderman Snyder.
Yes, sir. Do we have any updates regarding the storage building on Highway 14 next to Casey's? That location they were going to develop. Is
Yep.
there any updates at all?
They, I believe, do have their permit and are working toward that. They had a pre-construction meeting, it's got that scheduled. The dirt work that was going on there, they had a land disturbance permit for that to fill that site. So they are moving forward with that storage facility.
Okay. Any other questions for Director Cameron? Yeah. Thank you, sir. I know it's not on the agenda, but I know our chamber director, Rachel, is here. Do you want to say anything to the board? You don't have to, you don't have to, but I'm just, since I know you're here, any updates or anything?
We have quite a bit going on.
Okay.
As I hope you know, because you should have received a calendar invitation from me, we have a State of the Community Town Hall that's happening on October 26th at First Baptist of Ozark. We'd love for you all to be in attendance. We're posting that across the infamous Facebook pages in Ozark, so we expect attendance to be at least healthy. We are launching into a new phase of development on our website. Our board voted to extend the offer to a company out of Eureka at last Thursday's board meeting. So we are proceeding forward with that and hoping to have a new website fully developed with functional landing page by about the middle of November. It shouldn't take too long to get that up. We're also about to press go on a new Shop Local program that we're very excited about that has 3 large sponsors behind it. So you'll see those cards come out in a lot of high traffic locations. They are taking the place of what was traditionally our business directory that was printed, that would be outdated halfway through the year. Now that we're growing so rapidly each month in terms of membership, we wanted to make sure that we had something that we could update on a regular basis. So that card will be given to each and every student on the OTC Ozark campus, will be distributed through the schools at concession stands, and will be available in high traffic locations, hopefully such as Heather Hill Farms. Do you have any questions about anything that's going on with the chamber?
Yes, ma'am.
You have an event tomorrow?
We do have an event tomorrow. Yes, at GW Coffee House, we have Inform Ozark. The school district is presenting. It's a free luncheon. You bring your lunch, grab a cup of coffee, hang out with us for about an hour, 11:30 to 12:30. That's where we'll be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you have a unique meeting coming up October 26th at Millwood.
Yes, our murder mystery luncheon is next Thursday at Millwood. Millwood is our new home for our monthly Experience Ozark networking luncheon. We've been selling that out at about 100 people each month. So we decided to move it over to their dining space, create a little bit of FOMO, keep those numbers up. They're providing lunch for us on a monthly basis at a set cost. This month's lunch will be Tex-Mex with beef enchiladas and taquitos and chips and salsa. So if you get a chance, go ahead and register. We don't want to turn anybody away at the door. But yes, murder mystery.
Yes.
With local stars. Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you now. Any final comments from? Yes, sir.
Yes. No, really. Off topic here, but we fly our heroes back to Washington, DC next Wednesday with honor flight of the Ozarks. And I would encourage everyone here to come meet these guys and girls when they get off that airplane, when they come home. It's next October 25th at Springfield Branson National Airport. If you haven't experienced this, you need to come out there.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you will never see again in your lifetime, watching these heroes come home off that airplane. We're due to come back in. We should be down on the ground, wheels down around 9:20, barring any unforeseen circumstance. But I encourage you to be part of that. And if you do choose to come out there, you need to be there about 8:20 or 8:30, because there will be about 3,000 people inside that airport. And it's nothing but red, white, blue, and celebrate these heroes. But again, please come out and support these guys as they come off the airplane.
Yes, I concur. It's a wonderful experience. It just makes you proud to be American, and that we give honor to these veterans who so richly deserve it. So, one final comment. I just want to say, maybe online, but I'm going to say it anyway. This would be Sam's last meeting with us. if you probably know now about what's going on. She's going to be going on to a different direction. And I just want to say on behalf of the city, but of myself, thank you for what you've done with the OC. Thank you for the work, the preparation you've done, where it is today. I mean, the programs you have there, all the opportunities for the citizens of Ozark to experience. And plus the great staff that you have hired, you have trained. I mean, I've worked with them and there's great people there. I know they'll be in good hands, but again, I mean, thank you for what you've done with the communication, getting it developed, getting it started. I mean, like I said, we do appreciate that. And I know whatever venture you do go to, you'll do great, and whoever you get to would be very fortunate. So this time is entertain motion to adjourn. Okay, motion to adjourn was made by Alderman Galloway, second by Alderman Alder. All in favor, do a show of hands. And thank you all very much.